Hello and welcome to Newscentre. At least 121 people have died in a stampede at a religious congregation in Uttar Pradesh's Hathras district. On Tuesday, the Uttar Pradesh police have filed an FIR which alleged that organizers hid evidence and flouted norms. The organizers had sought permission for 80,000 people. However, 2.5 lakh people attended the event. The Satsang or congregation was organized by self-styled godman Narayan Sakar Hari, who is also known as Bhole Baba. However, his name does not feature on the list of accused and he continues to remain at large. As per a preliminary report submitted by Hathras' sub-divisional magistrate to the district magistrate, the crowd rushed towards the Baba when he was leaving the venue. His private security allegedly pushed some people who fell down and the crowd went out of control. Earlier today, State CM Yogi Adityanath met the stampede victims and assured strict action against the culprits. He also announced a judicial inquiry in the matter led by a retired High Court judge.
इस पूरे घटनाक्रम के लिए हम लोगों ने एडीजी आगरा की अध्यक्षता में एक SIT गठित की है, जिसने अपनी प्रारंभिक रिपोर्ट दी है और इस घटना की तह में जाने के लिए उनसे कहा गया है। बहुत सारे ऐसे पहलू हैं जिन पर जांच होनी बहुत आवश्यक है।
The cavalcade of Bhole Baba started to move out from the location at which the satsang was happening. His disciples actually tried to go ahead and get close to him to seek his blessings, to take the mud from beneath his feet, to take the mud from beneath his vehicle through which the cavalcade might have moved, and then put it on their foreheads. While this entire process was happening, the security guards of Bhole Baba started to stop people over there. They tried to make sure that a ring is made around the cavalcade so that the entire movement is done freely. Now, in this process, the pushing of the people started to happen. Now, when this pushing started to happen, people were already picking up mud, and it is then that people started falling atop one another. And then the entire process of deaths, injuries, and pain started. 121 people had lost their lives. But even after that, the volunteers of Bhole Baba did not stop. Instead of helping the people who have gotten injured, they started to make sure that the evidences that were over there, that is slippers, mobile phones, clothes, and even dead bodies of people, that is thrown to some other location. And this is something that has been mentioned in the FIR as well. Now it remains to be seen how quickly can the Uttar Pradesh police now go ahead and make sure that the main accused in this entire crime, that is the event organizers, they are brought to the books. Apart from this, there are loopholes that have been found or lapses that have been found at several levels of the administration as well. These includes from the local LIU to the top ranks of the district administration, that is DM, STM, SP. All of them are found to be guilty in some way or the other of not following their entire procedures that are in place, not fulfilling their responsibilities. It remains to be seen if at all any sort of action will be taken against the administration, but definitely the UP police and the UP government is in no mood to spare the organizers of the event, and that is the reason why FIR has been launched, people have been named, and the search operations is underway.
A former police constable turned self-styled preacher who calls himself Bhole Baba is at the center of the tragedy in Hathras that has claimed 121 lives. More than 2 lakh people are reported to have attended the gathering where the stampede took place. Who is Bhole Baba and why does he command a cult following? Here is a report.
Narayan Sakar Vishwahari, also known as Bhole Baba, was a police constable in Uttar Pradesh several years ago. He was then called Suraj Pal Singh. According to reports, he hails from a Dalit family in Bahadur Nagar village of Kasganj district, which is just over 60 kilometers from Hathras, where the deadly stampede occurred. According to the Indian Express, Singh left the police force sometime in the 1990s and the exact date is not known. He then turned into a self-styled preacher delivering sermons across villages, towns and cities. During his sermons, Singh has claimed to have worked with the Intelligence Bureau. Bhole Baba has millions of followers across Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Rajasthan and Delhi. According to reports, Bhole Baba was the second of 3 brothers from a well-off family While his elder brother died a few years ago, his younger brother still lives in the village with his family. Bhole Baba is married and does not have any children. According to several eyewitness accounts, the stampede occurred when his followers chased his car as it was leaving the venue. They were picking up the soil from his footprint and tire marks of his car as they believe it could cure those in sickness. Bhole Baba has not been named in the first FIR filed by the UP police, and he has not been traceable since the incident. Bureau Report, CNBC-TV18.
We are now joined by Yashovardhan Azad, former IPS officer, and Nirmal Kaur, former DGP Jharkhand. Parikshit Luthra, my colleague, also joins us. So, talking about what's exactly happening, and the important question here is what happens now in terms of action. So, my first question is actually to Nirmal Kaurji. So, what I want to know is, in multiple instances, we have seen this kind of lapse. And the key question here is one which is being reported, that how, when the gathering was of around 2.5 lakh people, there were not even 80 police people to manage that. So what exactly happens now? Because the FIR does not mention any names, or the onus right now is not on any of the authorities. So how do we go ahead with this? Though we know that there is space for adding unknown names and all of that, but that how that clearly seems like a lapse on part of not just the police administration, but also the state administration as overall.
Definitely not naming anyone in the FIR is kind of, very loose, because it gives you so many exits and so many entries. People, who are directly responsible should have been named in the FIR. And, this self-styled gurus, it is happening ever so often. They're doing everything. They're taking everyone for a ride, and they apparently he's a Hindu guru. And in Hindu, so you see Adi Shankaracharya, he's made this Dashnami order. There are 10 sects, 10 sects, Puris, Giris, whatever. There are 10 sects, those, the sadhus have to fall within those sects. What kind of a sadhu is he? I mean, is he a sadhu? It seems more like a cult. Wherever there's this kind of blind following is there. I mean, this organization is more of a cult than a religious organization, it seems, or even a moral organization, because it preaches truth and justice. There seems to be no truth or no justice out here on what has happened. And 80,000 people permission was sought for. Then one reads in the media, 2.5 lakh people gathered. And also they should have volunteers monitoring the crowds, monitoring the ingress, the egress, the passages, and even people getting up, sitting down, VIP leaving, or whatever. The whole drill should have been done. And it is not possible. Maybe some policemen should definitely have been, some police bandobasti must have been there. But it also for the organizers to organize volunteers. I've seen religious congregations where the volunteers chip in and the whole thing is so orderly and disciplined. This doesn't seem to be disciplined at all. And I mean, somebody's responsibility has to be fixed for an incident like this. And people are also very foolish, they need to believe in something blind, this kind of blind faith in anything which will, some kind of miracle that will happen if you take some dust.
Important points there, Ms. Kaur. Let me also get in Mr. Yashovardhan Azad. Mr. Azad, I would like to ask you about this so-called religious leader. He hails from Mainpuri. He came with a whole cavalcade of vehicles which left, and that was one of the reasons why there was a stampede, because his followers wanted to meet him. Now, the police has not been able to find him since yesterday. They visited his so-called ashram as well. Isn't this unusual? This is a person who has a cult following in the area. You have thousands of people which attend the event. He's a known person in Mainpuri, and the local police is not able to find him?
First of all, this man has been guilty of this kind of thing even before, during COVID times and a little later. There are other complaints also against him. So my first point is that when he was seeking permission for 80,000 crowd and more than 2 lakhs appeared, there is just no adequate facilities to organize this kind of an event, and this event should not have been allowed. That's number one. Number two, whenever you have functions of this kind in a district like Hathras, which is very small, then there are certain parameters which have to be followed. None of the parameters are followed by these Babas. And he had about his own sevadars to organize the event, who were there at the event. And these sevadars do not allow the police even to enter and interfere with any kind of arrangements which they make on their own. In fact, they have a set people who are there paying obeisance, dancing in the front, prostrating before to encourage the other people. Number three, it's all about having chandas and donations, which they have. And lastly, the entire program failed when, as you rightly put, that when he was going, the Sevadars blocked the entry, blocked the exit of the people. There were many people, because of heat and oppression and confined in a small place, wanted to go out. Not all of them wanted to do the darshan. If that pressure would have been eased, then perhaps this stampede wouldn't have occurred. But they would not allow anybody. They pushed them back and they fell into the drain at the back. As it is, the land where it was there was rocky. It was not plain. It was not prepared. The number of exits were not there. The number of entries were not properly organized. And therefore, this was waiting to happen. Lastly, this man is very well connected with the politicians. And that is how I'm sure he got the permission. And his name has not been added so far, since he was fully aware that so many people will come. He's been doing all these functions all over. He knew that there were no arrangements. And lastly, he was running away when exactly the stampede was actually happening. And that's why his culpability is almost established. He will be mentioned in the FIR and he should be arrested. And why he's not being found, I'm sure that he'll be found very soon. So far, he's taking the help of his benefactors. And you're right, because of his influence, he's just gaining ground, or perhaps getting his lawyers together to file I'll conduct that usual, anticipatory and things like that. But very soon, I think he should be brought to book.
Is to Ms. Kaur, ma'am, what I want to understand is, here we saw that there were absolutely no arrangements. First, not enough police personnel were present there, lack of ambulance, lack of proper municipal corporation people, the local administration people there to ensure coordination between the volunteers, police people and the local administration. If you can help us understand the SOP, what exactly, what kind of permissions are required before conducting or in order to conduct such an event, police permission, municipal permission, and how many days in advance this permission has to be taken, and what all amenities should be there for the police and the local administration to allow for such a gathering, ma'am?
For any procession, for any gathering, permission has to be sought well in advance, and full data needs to be given. You cannot mislead people that this much is the gathering and later it goes, it's a free for all. So many people come, there's no exits are being planned. There's no route really where people would enter, there's no planning, there's no organization. It's just a free for all where everyone came in and people are just blindly bowing, or, definitely it is not, it's not a planned event at all. There's no organized system. This godman appears to be a very popular godman, but doesn't seem to be a man of great substance by his conduct post the stampede. I don't know his past record. My co-panelist said that he's been defrauding public even in the past. So, but I read in the media that he's an ex-cop. He was a constable in UP police. He left it and he became a godman. These are blind faith and without any scientific inquiry, without any, we in Hinduism, if he's a Hindu god, Hindu sant, the order is very clear. Who all can be saints? There are these Shankaracharyas, they have their orders. Then there's the Darshanami Sant Parampara, where 10 orders of saints are there. He is none of that. He's wearing a tie, he's wearing a suit, he's collared. I don't know what he is and why people are following him. But apparently he has a very, very big following. And he's been holding these events and people come. But, district like Hathras, they wouldn't, 2.5 lakhs is a large, very large crowd to manage. And apparently even the ground was not prepared because there was a ditch nearby. There were fields nearby. Ground was not leveled. The danger spots like ditches and all were not covered. They were not made safe for women and children. And even for able-bodied people, such ditches will be fatal if one happens to fall in them. So none of it was prepared. But definitely the requirement is that people will take permission, and permission will be given after due examination of the grounds, inspection of the grounds, and how many people are coming, where are the exits, where are you putting up the kanats, entry points, exit points, emergency exit points. Leave alone emergency exit, they did not even have a clear-cut exit points. And you block the exit, and it's so hot and humid. So it was just a tragedy waiting to happen.
Right. Mr. Azad, coming to you, there have been so many stampedes in the country over the last few years. Bulk of them have happened at religious gatherings. Where are we going wrong when it comes to crowd management at such events? Does it become a case where the police and local authorities don't want to interfere with a strong religious figure with a cult following? Where are we making mistakes every time when it comes to religious congregations of this kind?
Understand clearly how is the arrangement taking place in such gatherings. Let me clarify it again. When it is, first of all, a private function, the state cannot be involved in thousands of Babas, Satsangs, or, these Taylor Swift dance programs, recitals. This is a program for a personal benefit. It's not for a social cause at all. And therefore, it is not incumbent upon the police to have the police. Can you have, for an organization like this, where you have 1.5 or 2.5 lakh people, you need 1,000 policemen. Even Hathras will not have these 1,000 policemen. You see? So this is an arrangement which has to be done totally by the private authorities. And if they don't have it, then they should not be allowed. That's number one. Number two, yes, if there is an information of this kind, the state should first try to prevent it or get into the act. Otherwise, let me tell you, for these functions, their own sevadars, whether they are of the temple and whether they are of the Babas, they don't want the police to enter. In Ram Rahim, because all kinds of activities go on inside and they don't want police to be privy of it. Therefore, the police does the outside arrangements of law and order, etc. In this particular case, exactly this happened. When the ranks started breaking and the people started fleeing because they wanted an escape, they were not allowed to escape. The police was outside. Now, at that particular point, if the police intervenes or does something, there'll be more stampede. So it was already too late. To organize an event of this kind, the police will have to be involved right from the beginning, about 1,000 policemen. Now, is it possible for the police to come into an act like this? No, unless the Baba does it 1 month before, pays for the police cost and does everything. Therefore, it's a huge exercise. So one of the reasons why it is happening again and again in religious gatherings, as you are asking, is number one, permissions are given where they should not be given, but because they are given because of political concession, as a political concession. Number two, time and again, none of these private agencies or private organizations are following the safeguards. They don't want to spend any money on ambulance. It's their job to get the ambulance, the fire extinguishers, the zoning, the lanes, the exits, the barricades, etc., etc. And number three, when it happens is, then there is no adequate action. Like this Baba is not there in the FIR.
Absolutely. These are important points you have raised, sir. And there are multiple questions which the state government, the administration needs to answer, whether it's about the FIR, whether it's about the lapses in the organizing of this event, and also what will happen next, because we have seen on multiple occasions that these kind of tragedies take place, but we don't see any proper structural reforms. But at present, it's time for a short break. But coming up, IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has said the government is looking to regulate artificial intelligence. A special report from the Global India AI Summit when we return.